Hello and happy Friday. Hope you're having a great day and getting ready for an exciting weekend. I know I am. It's a great time to serve the Lord. And by the way, if you're a guy out there, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., we have our men's breakfast and anybody can come. It's an awesome time. We're going to have great food and fellowship starting at 9 a.m. And basically, we just have a good time with one another, talk about maybe a 5 minute devotional, but it's basically men just getting to enjoy being other men with the Lord. So come on out tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. if you're a guy out there. Um, but enough with the commercial. This week we've been talking about the parables in Matthew chapter 25. Yesterday we did the parable of the sheep and the goats, and awesome parable. And the one thing about it is I really want to impress upon you. People ask me this question a lot: How can I see Jesus? You know, I want to know I'm doing something for the Lord. That's what the parable of the sheep and the goats is about. I'm not going to read the whole parable to him, but I'm going to give you a kind of an overview of it in case you missed it yesterday, and then read a certain part I want you to really get today. It was basically Jesus says, at the end of time, I'm going to gather all those together, those who and there's people who are going to claim to be Christians, say they're Christians, and he's going to call some of them sheep, some goats, put them on the right and the left. And what's going to happen is the sheep are going to get to go to heaven, and the ones on the left are not going to get to go to heaven because Jesus asked them something, and he says this. And he says to the sheep, "Bless, come you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world." And he also says to the goats, "Well, depart from me, because you are not blessed of my Father, because of these reasons. For when I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, you took me in. I was naked, you clothed me. I was sick, you visited me. And I was in prison, you came to me." Now, here's the interesting about that. He says that to both sides. And both sides answered at the same question: "Lord, when did we ever see you hungry, thirsty, sick, in prison, naked, or a stranger needing a place to stay?" And they're like, both of them answer that. And Jesus answers them and says, "Well," he says, he says this, um, and he says, surely I say to you," that's what I want to get to, verse 40, "and the king will answer and say to each of them," okay, "Surely I say to you, inasmuch as you did it to one of the least of these my brethren, you did it to me." And he says to the goats, "As surely as you didn't do it to the least of my brethren, you didn't do it to what? To me." See, when you allow this to be your DNA, when you just see someone in need that you know and you help them, that becomes part of your DNA as a Christian. That's what God says. This is what Jesus would do. This is what Jesus would do to help someone, to bring them to know Jesus, who you could have some influence over and say, wow, you're a Christian, but you actually back up what you believe. And when you do that, you get to see the face of Jesus. You get to see him because you're not just helping them, you're literally helping, what's it say in this passage? Jesus. I knew when I first became saved, I was 16. Grew up in church my whole life, but I didn't truly get saved till I was 16. Did some really dumb things. And I got saved one night, not in church. I was watching a baseball game in the middle of the night. It was the Pirates were playing the Padres on the West Coast, and all of a sudden the Holy Spirit came down in the room and said, "You know all the stuff you listen to and you kind of been rebellious against. It's really real." And then I got down on my hands and knees in our what do you call it, our living room, family room, and I just, no one was around. I just said, "Lord, I want to give my life over to you and have a relationship with you." And it started a wonderful journey that I'm now 51 years old, and I'm enjoying this journey, and I just love being with the Lord. And it was great. It's just been awesome. And so I became a Christian, and I started serving the Lord, and the youth group saw a change in me. I was on a Bible quiz, and they saw a change in me and what I really believed and really thought, because now I actually was putting, the right reasons behind what I was doing. And but I was wondering, I had that question: "Lord, I want to see your face. I want to see you. I want to bless you. That's what I want to do." And our youth pastor had this trip planned to go minister in the middle of Chicago in a place called Cabrini Green. Well, Cabrini Green back in the 80s was known as the worst project in America with the highest murder rate of anything. My parents knew that. I didn't know that. And so I said, "I want to go on this youth trip to Chicago, to Cabrini Green." My mom and dad were totally against it. And they said, "Why do you want to do that? This is not a place we feel comfortable you sending you. We don't think it's going to be safe. Why in the world do you want to do that?" And so that pondered me. And then I was wondering, "Well, Lord, why do I want to go? Do I just want to go?" There weren't many going, by the way. We had a youth group of about 100, and only three people at that point had signed up. I ended up being the fourth person. That's all that went, along with the youth pastor. And I was like, why do I want to go? And I do want to serve the Lord, but I want but that question was going through. I want to see God's face. And so I was reading in my devotions that night, happened to be right here in Matthew chapter 24, verses 31 to 46. 25, 31 to 46. And what I say? I said, and I read that, and I went to my parents' bedroom, well, knocked on the door first, and I walked in and said, I know I want to go to Cabrini Green. I said, I want to see Jesus' face, because we were going there to give water and things like that. And I went there, and it changed my life. And we were able to. And here's the thing: you might say, you said earlier, stranger. I mean, you don't know how you're going to make a difference with people. Well, here's the thing about what we were doing at Cabrini Green. We weren't just ministering to them; we were also planting a church right there. They had a rec center right there. It was about 15 high rises, about 25 stories high. Most of those were run by gangs. But we were going to plant a church right there in the middle. There was a pastor that was going to stay with those people. So we worked alongside that pastor, and we handed out water. We handed out food. I remember going to one room, and it was, they were just all cinder block. So many people in there. And it was amazing. We were handing food out. We were handing things out. And I remember so clear. This one day we walked into this one room, and the family offered us to eat with them their food. Now, I want to tell you right now, they didn't have a lot of food. There was so many people in that household. I looked at the food, and boy, I don't think the food was all that great. But they were willing to offer it back to us. Why? Because we were giving them hope. We were connecting with them. And what happened is that church we helped plant along a couple other youth groups, all met there. And when we left, the church started with 0. When we left, the church had 500 people. Now you might think it is a huge number. But in this Cabrini Green apartment village of these 15 high rises, there was almost 25,000 people just in this small less than a mile of land. They just stacked right on top of one another like sardines. But they got to hear the hope of Jesus, and I got to see Jesus, and I came home from that, and then from then on out, I saw Jesus in so many things, and my life just changed. We started a Bible study at our high school, and then God called me into the ministry. Didn't quite want to go into ministry at the time, wanted to do something else, but God has His way of getting things across, and it's just amazing. But I went there to see the face of God. You want to see the face of God? Help those to the least of my brethren. Once again, my brethren is a key word. I'm talking about helping people that are my people, and seeing what happens. And then God will let you see His face in ways that you'll never. It's hard to explain. Now, we can't see God's face in glory. You say, well, see God's face, you'll die. I'm talking about seeing the presence of God, the glory of God, seeing God move in your life in extreme ways that you just know He's right there in front of you, guiding, directing, and blessing your life. It's just an amazing thing. I can't wait to see His real face in heaven, but I've seen a glimpse of it because I followed this parable of the sheep and the goats. So I hope you have a great weekend. Hope to see you Sunday at church. Tomorrow, if you're a guy, hey, men's breakfast at 9 a.m. So have a great weekend. Remember, Jesus loves you. I love you, and you're absolutely awesome.